our technology challenges this afternoon. What we'll do is go ahead. We're going to switch the order. Dr. Istok is still trying to locate her presentation. So we're going to move to the next presentation by Gaynor. And then we will pick up Dr. Istok's presentation. Give us just a minute. We'll have questions at the end. Next presentation is entitled Invigorating a Brand by Blasphemy, and it is by Gaynor Lea-Greenwood. Gaynor Lea-Greenwood teaches international fashion marketing at Manchester Metropolitan University and has been on the faculty since 1991 after a lifetime in the fashion industry. Gaynor?
Thank you. I don't know how many of you can see what I'm wearing. It's not a particularly politically correct statement, perhaps, but this is a T-shirt that I got interested in when my friend was wearing one in New York, and she was asked to leave Bloomingdale's because French Connection had launched a promotional campaign. It was UK, it was local, it had a reach America, but now it has. So this paper is based on a case study. As I say, I was interested in this because they were launching a campaign. And it's about a total reinvention of a brand. Originally French Connection was a 1970s company that sold basically a lot of imported clothing. It still sells imported clothing, of course. And didn't have a very high profile in the UK for many years. In fact, it went into bankruptcy 7 times. So this is about reinventing a brand using promotion. And basically, it's the lowercase writing FC UK that actually, if we rearrange the letters, has been a very big success in the UK, although a lot of people at first thought the people of the UK would find it offensive. One of the problems that French Connection was faced with was that they were in a terribly competitive retail environment, and they didn't really stand for anything on the high street. And there was also low growth at that time during the 90s. Well, there were problems in the late 70s, some of the 80s. In the late 80s, when everybody was into power dressing and enormous shoulder pads and women could rule the world, because Mrs. Thatcher told us we could, they were actually losing sales because they didn't get into the working wardrobe. They were still using some very hippie, dare I say, hippie clothing from the 1970s. So they were faced with a very, very tight competitive situation. They were also suffering from what we would call fragmented distribution channels. One of the problems was that they didn't trust themselves to sell themselves on the high street as a brand, and what they were doing was letting anybody sell their brand. So there were market stalls selling their brand, there were wholesalers selling their brand. Basically, the research showed they had a very old image. Throughout the 1990s, trying to get up to date and reinvent themselves, they used the traditional methods that people on the high street have been known for, and that's painting the shop. But you can't reinvent a brand through painting the shop. They did some research in 1998, and they realised that French Connection didn't mean something to people. It wasn't a tired brand, but it wasn't mentioned by people. It didn't come uppermost in people's minds. It wasn't in their repertoire of brands, but the new entrants to the UK market were. And again, as I say, a lot of people knew it had been around since the 1970s, and that's why they thought it was an old brand. So the objective of the promotional campaign, and everybody, possibly everybody who teaches marketing, always says that you can't promote a bad product But this is a company that turned that idea upside down, and it actually used the promotional part of the marketing mix to promote products before they even changed the product. So the objective of the campaign was to build a brand, to reposition the brand without alienating these customers who still recognised the brand, to give customers a reason to shop there and create everything we know and understand in terms of promotion, including advertising, that we need an emotional point of contact with a brand. We need to understand it in terms of its personality. So the key issue was how to differentiate when most of the high streets look the same. Most of the high streets are selling the same product, but the only key differentiation is the brand and people's emotional attachment to the brand. So we came to differentiation through creating a personality to the brand of the brand. And that personality was naughty, it was dyslexic daring, it was FC UK, and they made an emotional connection by creating a brand that was a little bit naughty, a brand that had attitude. However, as we know from our marketing studies, the promotional part of the marketing mix, a logo doesn't make a campaign. One of the main problems was that they were thinking of using FC UK, and FC UK, as I say, existed internally within the organisation. So FC UK was an email address from the Hong Kong buying offices. By the same token, FCHK was an email address from England to the Hong Kong buying offices. One of their key issues, obviously they weren't going to use FCHK, but one of their key issues was getting FC UK out into the public domain without upsetting people's sensibilities in terms of it. Remarkably, that has been a great success. The Advertising Standards Authority, the UK self-regulatory body, which looks after advertising, has actually only ever upheld two complaints against FC UK. So there has, and they were only made by approximately 15 people. So out of all the people in the UK, 60 plus million, who could complain about FC UK, people weren't complaining. They found it amusing. One of the main and most interesting parts of the campaign was what we call creative treatment. This was about white space. This was not about, probably a little similar to Benetton, this was not about putting product in the shop. There was no product in the FC UK, and FC UK Fashion was one of the first logos they used, one of the first phrases they used. There was no product in the photographic shop because they hadn't invented any product. They'd only invented the t-shirt with the logos on them at that time. The product development has come later. And of course they used the FC UK, it was a great success, and they integrated in-store in terms of t-shirts and the white space. One of the biggest things that's been interesting me is that cost effectiveness. The whole FC UK campaign cost 3 million over 3 years. In comparison, Gap spends in 1 year 15 million. But one of the very interesting things is how much a walking t-shirt or a walking carrier bag is worth. Now the advertising, the IPA, the Institute of Practitioners of Advertising, estimate that at 4 times whatever the actual cost would be. Perhaps they think that people have got 4 times more opportunities to see. If we do the maths connected with that, the t-shirt sales were 5.2 million and they're still growing. If we've got a profit of 3 million, we've got £12.35 million of free walking advertising. And that is one of their most successful parts of the campaign. Interestingly, when French Connection sold t-shirts with French Connection written on them, which I think is about 15 letters, I might be wrong, I can't stand it up quickly, 15 letters, they sold them for £12.99. When they reduced the letters to 4, FC UK, they sold them for £20. A limited edition t-shirt, the Royal Albert, they're collecting lots of them, the limited edition t-shirt sells for £55. UK. Generally, the campaign to reinvent French Connection was high impact, high recall, and got people talking. (1989), and again this is a brand that's been around since the 70s, 1989 the share price was 5p. Marx, who founded French Connection, had to raise a lot of money to buy the company back when it went bankrupt. By 1999, only at the start of this campaign really, the share price was raised to £7.75. And as you can see from the slide, I'm sure you can all read it, there was massive profit, turnover, pre-tax increases. But that's not all. One of the main things about French Connection is that it's then been able to, on the back of this advertising campaign, it's called promotional reinvention, it's then been able to move into product development. And actually, its products have got better, or maybe the UK perception of the product has got better. One of the most interesting things is the brand extension strategy. They've been able to assure the consumer that if they go into footwear, cosmetics, eyewear, optical products, sunglasses, etc., that the consumer will buy it. And interestingly, the consumer will buy it not just from a French Connection store, but also from other retail outlets, opticians, cosmetics from boots, chemists, pharmacy. They've also been able to develop flagship stores, so they can now afford premium locations on high street. And they've been able to go into internet and home shopping development. They've also had an opportunity to expand internationally. They were international in that some of their clothes were sold by other people, but they've actually been able to expand internationally and have organic growth, direct investment, standalone flagship stores. They were planning 300 in the US, compared with 1 in Tokyo. Those plans have changed slightly in the light of recent developments, but their global expansion is still on. As I say, they can command premium sites now, where before people would say, you don't really want to be next door to French Connection. Now people want to be near French Connection. They can stop people selling their things, or they can pull back from the wholesale division and control their brand. And one of the most interesting things is that people want to work for them. They are inundated with people sending them CV to work for them. The actual stores themselves have something like, when I spoke to a manager in one of the stores, they have something like 20 people on average per day. On average per day, say, have you got any vacancies in store? And also, for the UK retail industry, where turnover in terms of staff on the shop floor is very high and costs a lot of money, they also keep their staff. People want to be involved with the brand, especially since they like annoying the older generation by wearing a t-shirt. So, what have we got? We've got a synergy here. 2 plus 2 equals 5 million in t-shirt sales alone. But where next for the company? Thank you very much.